Welcome to the Warband, a World of Warcraft podcast. I am one of your hosts, Swaglock, and with me today is our absolutely tender and delicious Costco rotisserie chicken.
Ew, Costco. Boo.
Wait, do you not actually like Costco?
No, dude, I hate Costco. I don't really like Costco. I feel like people make fun of me because I don't go to Costco. Like, I'm serious.
I mean, okay, so I don't go to Costco because I'm like a single dude living on my own. I don't have to buy a lot of food, so Costco's bulk doesn't make sense for me. But I can't. How do you just not like Costco?
I mean, because, well, let's be honest. Buying in bulk isn't always the best thing. You buy a salad, and like 2 weeks later, it's already like freaking dead. Like,
dude, you and your wife. Here's the trick. Here's how you make Costco significantly like more effective for your family, right? So you need to, after we finish recording this podcast tonight, go talk to your wife and say, "Hey, I want to have 4 more children."
oh my gosh.
Yep. Then you're gonna be like, dude, I love Costco. Costco's amazing. That's the meta. That's the Costco meta, dude. You gotta have a lot of kids.
That's the meta.
That's Costco meta right there. Costco meta. You got to min-max, dude. You got to min-max when you start having a lot of kids. And so Costco's just how you pull that off.
The problem with Costco is I feel like every time I talk to people about Costco, they're like, oh, yeah, I went to Costco to get a loaf of bread, and then I left with 2 carfuls of groceries. And I'm like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's different people play the game differently, right? So, like, if you're only able to focus on, like, one character and you just push your main, you get really good at your main, yeah, Costco's probably not for you. But if you have a lot of alts, and you're constantly needing to gear up your alts and keep your alts equipped, Costco's perfect for that. But, you know, we're really here to talk about World of Warcraft. And so,
here to talk about Costco.
So, Chicken, what have you been up to in WoW lately? Anything going on this week?
Well, talk about a little WoW. So we, as a guild, my guild, that Swag's not a part of.
Dude, we're in the same guild, bro. Same guild.
No, you're not in my guild, dude. You're not that cool.
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely in your guild.
Yeah, bro. Dude, I bet you couldn't even raid lead a friggin' raid, let alone be in one. So, yeah. This jokester here.
I think it's harder to raid lead than just be in one. But okay, anyways, where are you going with this?
We got 4 bosses down. That's pretty cool. In heroic, and you thought I was talking about mythic, didn't you? Yeah, we're not that good.
Dude, you know what though? I've been pretty hyped with our prog on heroic. It's good for us.
Yeah.
This is all like record stuff for us right now, I think.
Oh yeah, it's really good. I think we've been doing pretty good for. I don't even want to say the skill level we are, because I do think I think we got some good people in our guild. Like, I think our guild is pretty talented.
Dude, we've and the thing too is, like, we've grown like as players so much. Now, there are definitely some new players I think in our group who are also exceptional, but I remember, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, whatever, 4 years ago, in Shadowlands doing Sanctum of Domination, and we were kind of slow progging through normal, dude. Like, we were slow progging through normal, and now a lot of those same players are with us, topping the DPS meters, parsing high, like pushing hard. It's been awesome. It's been so cool. And so last week we were doing heroic. Heroic week 1, which is the first time ever for us. We kind of discussed on the podcast a bit before, and we got the first boss down, Olgrax, and then we got to Bloodbound Horror, and we just like hit a hard wall. We couldn't get him down the first night. The second night, we did nothing but fight Bloodbound Horror, and we still couldn't get him down. So we go back this week, again, clear Olgrax out, because, it's gear, might as well clear him out. It's one boss, let's do it. Yeah. And then we go to Bloodbound Horror. We get to Bloodbound Horror, and, of course, we spent, what do you think we spent, like an hour and a half on him, maybe? Because we also had that login problem, right? Because I think on...
Oh,
yeah, it was Wednesday.
Right. Yeah.
Wednesday, we couldn't log in. And it wasn't just us. Like, it wasn't just us. Like, I was talking to a friend, Capo, who hopefully we'll have on the podcast in the future, but he's raiding with like a Mythic prog team right now who is doing amazing, and I can't wait to talk to him about what that experience is like at the start of an expansion on the pod. But I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, a lot of us are just waiting right now because half the team can't log in, or they got forced out, and so they're waiting to get back in.
That happened to us. Yeah, I don't think it happened to me specifically.
No, I remember staying in myself, but we had like half our group out. Yeah.
Even Tuesday, when the drop of M+, I ran like a dungeon, and it was like +2 mist, and like right at the last fight, the healer got kicked and
Ooh.
just didn't come back. I mean, luckily we were like 3 chesting it at that point, so it was like, we'll just take it a little slower and still get the 2 chests. But
There's been a lot of that too, and I'm not totally sure why. Because I
yeah,
mean, it's launch. Obviously, a lot of people are playing, but usually with launch, it's week 1, maybe week 1 bleeding into week 2. But now that we're seeing it really affect, 4 weeks in or 3 weeks, I don't know how far into this we are now, but nearly a month into the expansion, and we're having these problems. It tells me 2 things. One, as always, Blizzard's probably not as prepared as they should be. Maybe they'll listen to Illidan next time.
Blizzard.
But secondarily though, it does make me start to question, like, is this expansion kind of pumping right now? Like, are we getting numbers so high that Blizzard wasn't even like anticipating it or prepared for it? I'd like to think so. I like to think the game I enjoy playing is doing well, right? So that's kind of, maybe there's a hopeful bit in that. So we did that 30-minute kind of, almost 30 minutes of us waiting for everybody to get back in and be ready to go. And then I think we did an hour, like we crushed the first boss fast. We cleared out trash. We get to the second boss, and we spent like an hour and a half on this second boss. Finally, we get him down, and I'm looking at the clock because I was raid leading this week with the guild. Our raid leader is still kind of on hiatus at the moment. And so we were at this second boss, and I'm looking at everything going on. And I'm just like, all right, we got 15 minutes left. Do we clear out to the next boss and start on the next boss? Or do we just say, hey, we did it. We're clearly not getting the next boss down. Let's just log out for the night, and we'll come back tomorrow and work on boss number 3, Sikrin. And we kind of made the call, like, let's just go try and get Sikrin, right? And maybe it gives us a chance to see the fight, and then for our team to spend some time researching it the next day. And lo and behold, 2 pulls, we got him down, right? Within, I think maybe we were like 5 minutes over when we should have wrapped up raid or something. But dude, that was so hype, because we were already pumped from getting Bloodbound Horror down, and now to go up to Sikrin and just like almost one-shot him felt super, super good.
Dude, that fight was stupid.
Which one, Bloodbound or Sikrin?
Well, I mean, both of them were kind of stupid for different reasons, right?
Oh my gosh, Bloodbound, and I don't know, if you're listening right now and your guild has done Bloodbound Horror on Heroic, I'd love to hear what your experience was. We were running basically a full 30-man team every time we've done Heroic so far. And so maybe that fight just gets significantly harder with the more players you have, especially tentacles going out and needing to dodge things. Healing was starting to get to be a little bit of a nightmare. And the beams, man, placing those beams in the right place, it took myself and the other tank a second to like really get into the flow of like how to place that, making sure we're taunting appropriately. And then we get to Sikrin, and it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, just hit the taunt button when he tells you to taunt, and just rotate him clockwise a little bit, and you're fine. It was just such a change of pace. But
yeah, that fight.
I think it felt
stupid
good.
Easy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Those fights should have been swapped. Or, I mean, let's be honest, Bloodhound should have been like probably like the third to last boss. But I mean, granted, we faced Broad Twister, and that's gonna be a difficult fight.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that one's looking to maybe be our hardest one yet, which is, I don't know how I'm feeling. I'm hoping our raid leader's back next week to take the reins, so I just have to worry about tanking. But we'll see.
Yeah, but like me and you are like, we're the prime commodity for that fight.
That's true. It is one of the few times as a DK I feel important, and I feel like I offer value to the raid team, other than just saying, oh yeah, you can death advance that mechanic to the rest of the raid team that doesn't have death advance. That's kind of like my meme. If you're listening right now, my meme is I'll just like every time there's a mechanic in raid that you can just avoid by using Death Advance, which Death Advance is the ability that lets you avoid any type of forced movement ability from your enemy. So like on Razagath, the knockback on Razagath, I would Death Advance that and some other stuff. And I'm always annoying whenever people are like, how do we handle this? I'm like, Death Advance. And then they look at me and they're like, swag, we don't have that move. And I'm like, well, maybe reroll a Death Knight. That's the move. That's the meta right there. Everybody in raid play a Blood DK.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
it's such a good movement.
Yeah, dude. So we got Sikrin down night 1 this week, and then we followed up on night 2 because we raid twice a week. On night 2, we went right to Rashanan, and we kind of had some trouble on Rashanan. I think we assumed we were gonna like 1 or 2 shot Rashanan as well. We walked in that fight going, it's the same fight as Dawnbreaker. It's got a couple extra mechanics, but easy peasy.
Bro, that was not even close to the same fight as Dawnbreaker, other than like the slime wave things. Bro, that fight was so much harder.
Dude, it was a fight, and what makes that one so interesting too is, again, our guild is you know, maybe a little bit I want to say more unique, right? Like in the sense of our focus first and foremost is to build a strong community and create a place that players can learn and grow together, more than it necessarily is just to purely prog and be like absolute professionals, right? So you'll see other guilds that are trying to like push hard, and they're doing tryouts for their raid teams, and they're trying to make sure that they have like the absolute perfect team. But for us, the people we have are already perfect. Now, maybe they're not the most perfect players. Myself in that boat, I think I wiped us twice in the last 10% of Bloodbound Horror. So, first and foremost is me in that boat. But I love the people on our raid team. But it also means that like it takes us a minute longer, I think, than most to like kind of get used to the mechanics of a fight and quickly respond to them. And so Rashanan was really kicking our butts because he has that mechanic where you split damage and the pull, right? The knockbacky type thing between everybody who soaks in a building. And once you have, what do you think it was? Like 6 people dead, 7 people dead. It on like a 30-man group. On the 30-man group, you just couldn't soak it, right? It became absolutely impossible.
It was rough.
And so Rashanan was cool though, because like, dude, it felt, and I don't know, maybe you can give me some different thoughts on it, but it felt like we were struggling. Like we knew the mechanics, we knew what to do. We weren't being surprised really by anything. However, people were just dying. And there was a minute where we were like, is this just too much damage? Is too much damage going out? Is that really the problem? Maybe it's not mechanics. Maybe it's just damage. And then all of a sudden, I think something clicked. I think something clicked and our players got it. I think we took the break after we killed him. But I know we were about to take our break. We were like, hey, we'll do one more pull, and then regardless, we're taking a 7-minute break. And on that last pull, something just clicked for our team. And I think maybe 2 people died in the last like quarter of the fight. But for the most part, like everybody was alive for the vast majority of the fight. And it was just like so different. Like you could just tell like mechanics made sense. They clicked. It became easier for our healers to handle. People were dodging everything. They were taking the ads up to the front so tanks could grab them. Because that was the worst. They were originally taking the ads to the back. And then I'm standing there as tank like, hey man, I can't really just run away from the ball. So can you put them over here next time?
Can't just walk away.
Slapping hands as a 2-minute cooldown.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Our guild's kind of weird. I feel like we're like David Bowie half the time.
Dude, I love our guild though, man. Like I've raided with a bunch of different guilds. I still will like go hop into like other guilds and raid with them for like a night here or there. When I just want I just want to get some gear or something for an alt. And man, dude, there's no experience like raiding with our guild. It's just the community is so good.
Oh yeah, we got a good group of people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
sometimes too good a group of people.
Yeah, man, dude. You got a little catching up to do, I think, this season.
Yeah, I just started off on such a bad foot, so
it's all good.
It's okay. We'll get there. Right?
I'm ready to catch you start pumping numbers though, man. I know you also swapped specs going into this expansion, right?
What do you mean?
Because I thought you were playing Frost, I believe, right? How's that been feeling?
On Wednesday, yeah. Thursday, I switched back to Unholy. I've been doing both a little bit. To be honest, like this sounds kind of corny, but I feel like they just made Unholy too simple now. Like it's just, I don't know. Personally, I think it's just too simple now. Like you basically have like 3 cooldowns, and then you have your rotation.
Because Unholy has historically always been like very complex.
Unholy had like 7 cooldowns, and you had to like manage those like really well. And it like Unholy was like what's it called? Mage, like high risk, high reward. And I mean, it proved itself. Like I typically not the boast, but like I was typically towards the top of the leaderboard. It was high risk, high reward. And now it's just like medium risk, medium reward. Although, I don't know, some people might argue and say Unholy is really good. But let's be honest, I think Frost is going to be where I land. I think it's the better spec of the two.
Frost is looking really good right now. Even in M
So,
plus, people are really talking about Frost
oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know we'll kind of
No,
maybe discuss that a bit later.
it's by far
Yeah.
probably like this is maybe a pull, but I think it's probably one of the best specs in the game right now, to be honest.
I'm looking at class tuning right now, at least in terms of damage output for heroic week. So the end of heroic week that we had last week. And
Yeah.
so Frosty K, actually weirdly enough, for raid, just for raid, was sitting middle ground.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Unholy DK is like barely behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 3 positions lower, but like just shaving off. I think you're at like 1%, 2%
Oh
difference
yeah,
maybe.
it's not anything like super crazy.
No, there's been a lot of tuning too of classes changed around. Fury Warrior is looking really good. I think Enhanced. I know I had a more up to date log that I was looking at the other day, and I just can't find it right now. But I know Enhanced, I think right now is like top dog, crushing it. It was.
Oh yeah, it is.
Enhanced
And they
was
just got
weird.
buffed.
Yeah, Enhanced was weird because they buffed them, and you're like, dude, they're. But I mean, what's tough too is you have to remember like buffs are interesting because it's for both Mythic Plus and like raiding.
Yeah, for raid. Yeah.
So you have specs like Balance Druid, right? Boomkins, for example, where Boomkin was kind of sucking a little bit at raid.
Yeah,
like
it was struggling.
just not doing good. In fact, actually, the chart I'm looking at right now, I don't even know if it's the whole chart because I don't see Boomkin on it at all.
Oh,
maybe
jeez.
it was so
Oh,
bad,
no.
right? Maybe it was so bad. But I think here we go. I just had to scroll down. I had to scroll down to another chart where it's even lower. Okay, there we go. And so they buffed Balance Druid, but what ended up happening is in buffing Balance Druid, they actually made it like mega good, like omega good for Mythic Plus, because all of a sudden like the AoE output was going nutty. And so it is kind of like a weird, how do you balance well for M plus, like Mythic Plus, like time dungeons where you're trying to do big massive pools and burn stuff down quickly and interrupts and stuff and make something good there, but then also make it equally good in a raid setting where you're generally fighting one boss and handling more so like position driven mechanics and stuff like that. So it is so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and like to touch on that, I really think WoW is just one of those games where, well, unless you're a mage, you just have your ups and downs, right? I feel like some expansions you're just really good, then the next expansion you're kind of like, mid tier, and then maybe you go like a little mediocre. I mean, I think a good example is like Rogue. I think Rogue was like, I mean, it was okay in Shadowlands. I don't think it was like anything like crazy good.
Yeah, I think Outlaw Rogue was doing pretty good in Shadowlands, if I
Outlaw,
remember. Yeah,
Outlaw was pretty good, but then like beginning of Dragonflight, they were like no one played Rogue, and then they buffed them, and then it was basically like Rogue is like top tier again.
Yeah, Rogue was doing really good. I think Outlaw Rogue for raid at least is kind of back up there now, which is feeling pretty good.
Okay,
generally up there. I know they nerfed Arcane because Arcane was looking nutty.
Yeah,
and they're
Arcane
trying. I think they're
was too
trying to bring up Frost and Fire as well. Is what I saw on some patch notes. I think I have them right here in the tab. Yeah, right. So they're bringing up Fire by like 15 to 20% on some abilities, and then Frost they're bringing up by like 15-20% as well on some abilities. Although it looks like Frost is doing all right in PvP, so they're trying not to affect Frost in PvP, and just mess with it in PvE content.
Yeah, Frost is really good in PvP actually.
Oh yeah, because you also have like natural, natural slows and movement impairing stuff.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch? Dude, who's that
mage?
Who's that mage on like TikTok and stuff? Have you ever seen it where like he'll do like the capture the flag map, not Warsong Gulch, but the other one, and he'll just like yeet himself across the whole map with the flag.
What?
Dude, it's nutty. It's nutty. This guy's like an insane player, like absolutely insane player. I think I've seen him like turn himself into a sheep and just like fly across the map and do crap.
Oh
like,
my gosh!
And I believe he like collects items and stuff in the game, and then like uses them compounding wise, like to pull off like these crazy maneuvers. And I'm sure plenty of stuff has gotten nerfed or removed because of things he's done. I think it's like his name's like Mage God or something. I have to look into it. I'll figure it out and I'll post something on Discord.
Yeah, I've never seen that guy. Yeah, that sounds That sounds lit, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I need to get more into PvP because some of that stuff's like really awesome, but then I do PvP and I just get overwhelmed because right, like in rating and M plus, I'm just like, oh, I know what to expect. I know what's happening. I understand everything that's going on, and then like PvP happens. I'm like, there's 30 people and I can't read their minds. What the heck's going on?
Oh yeah, dude. I don't think I'll ever get into PvP. I feel like as a WoW player, you almost just have to choose what you want to do. Like you have to choose between PvP and PvE. Like I think it's a little sad, but I personally think you have to choose one.
Yeah, but there's such different styles of content too that
Oh,
different
they
people.
are.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
And you know
But
what though,
like,
I do like going to battlegrounds sometimes. Like sometimes I go to battlegrounds. Sometimes I'll do some arenas when I'm bored too. But yeah, I usually pick which one am I gonna like really focus on.
Yeah, I mean, low key, I really think that they should try to balance PvP and PvE to be more suitable to play between the two. Because the problem is, if you do PvP, you got to work on your PvP gear. If you want to do PvE, you got to work on PvE gear.
Well,
it's
so
like,
it used to not really be like that, and so the problem that they run into again, WoW players, and this actually segues into an interesting conversation. WoW players tend to find the one thing they like to do, and they just do that thing, right? And so even with PvE, right, you have like people who just want to do Mythic Plus or people who just want to do Raid. But PvP is an interesting one where if you just want to do PvP, if all gear was kind of shared, right, like across the board, well, what ends up happening, right, is Raid probably ends up dropping the best gear. And now all of a sudden, if you want to be a top PvP player, you have to go start like Mythic raiding. And Mythic rating is like a huge like ask, right? And it becomes totally different. And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden your player power is like fully dependent upon, random luck drops in PvE and like Mythic versus I think where it's at right now. And I could be wrong in how I totally understand PvP, but right now you kind of get your reward for PvP and then you go purchase with your tokens or honor or whatever it is, the gear that you want from winning matches. And that way, like you're actually like kind of more in control of your gearing. Now, your gearing is still dependent upon you being successful and involved and doing it. But that way now, like, you can just PvP and enjoy the game. And you're not logging and going like, dang it, if I want to win PvP matches, I have to go now run, like, Mythic Raid 4 nights a week and then help my guild with heroic splits a 5th night of the week. And then now all of a sudden I have now all of a sudden I have like 30 minutes on like a Friday afternoon to do one arena match.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one, but I guess the problem with that is you kind of hurt those people that do like to do both. But I guess it's not the end of the world, really.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing, though. So you were talking to me before the podcast recording started tonight. You've been watching a bit of Race to World First. What's been going on there?
Yeah, I've been. I don't know. Personally, if you want my opinion, I think Race to World First is probably one of the coolest events held on by a game. Like, I really do. I mean, you got tournaments for, like, Call of Duty and, like, Fortnite and, like, all that kind of stuff. But those tournaments are, like, like, they're cool. Like, you go and you, like, have fun. You play people. You have a winner, blah, blah. Everyone goes home at the end of the weekend, right? I think it's just cool that this is more of just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not daily, but like this is like a sometimes can be like a month-long event, right? Like,
yeah, I think we've seen a couple that go on for a couple of weeks, and it gets intensive.
Like this isn't just like something that like is just like, hey, there's a tournament this weekend, let's watch it. This is like, you get home, you check in. Oh, did Liquid take down, Taylor Swift? T Swift the last season of Dragonflight. Did Echo take down? It's stuff like that. I think that just makes Race to World First really cool.
Absolutely, and it's so fascinating watching the way all the teams work together because it at the end of the day, it really is a team sport. And you get to watch them coordinate and work together in some like really cool ways. And one of the I remember talking to my family about it one time and just my dad being like, yeah, but what's the appeal to esports, right? Like, what's the appeal to watching other people play video games? Don't you want to play that video game? And I said, Dad, like, dude, you love watching football, right? Like, why don't you just go outside and play football? And he's like, yeah, but there's something special when you get to root for a team that you are excited for, that you feel like ownership over, that it's this spectacle sport, and on top of that,
Yeah.
you're watching people do it at a level and degree that you yourself like could never do.
Oh,
And so it's
exactly.
kind of
100%.
inspiring. It's kind of inspiring.
Yeah,
And I
dude.
was like, Dad, that's exactly why I love watching things like Race to World First, because
Yeah.
it's inspiring, right? Like you're watching them pull off these moves and these plays and think of things and create plans on the fly. Like one of my favorite things about Race to World First is watch him hit bosses and be like, oh crap, what do we do, right? Like, what do we do? And then like the next day comes and like somebody overnight coded a whole week or to help like manage assignments during a fight that they didn't realize were going to be a problem. And so it's so cool to me, like how they work through everything and make it happen. And also there's something fun too, because ultimately right now it really comes down to Liquid and Echo, right? It's kind of like, is Liquid going to win? Echo going to win?
Basically.
And it's fun. Now that could change, next season, who knows? Maybe another guild comes in and takes that spot. But it is fun right now, because we are on American servers. I mean, we're in America, and so when we watch America, but when we watch Liquid like going, you kind of want to root for your team, right? Like that's our home team.
Yeah.
That's America. That's NA servers right there. And then and then Echo's going, and nothing against Echo, but they represent a whole different server group than what Liquid represents. And so
wait, really?
yeah, because
America?
Echo is in Europe. Bro, did you not know that?
No, you're kidding.
Yeah,
You're
no,
joking.
I'm serious. That's why they have some trouble, because like their sleep differences, like they have sleep differences and just time of like when they're up and doing it, when things change. Yeah,
The season 1 thing for Dragonflight makes a lot more sense now.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot more sense.
And so it's fascinating right now watching the two guilds competing to see where everybody's at, what everybody's doing. But it's also fascinating because there's a third guild right now in the running that's now obviously Method's competing, and they were going to have a better chance, but I think Method was the guild hit hardest by the bans that went out, those 4-day bans.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That happened because people were kind of like abusing a renown cheat.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's an extra guild in there. A Chinese guild is competing right now, and they're not very far behind. Like I think they might be 4th place in terms of percentage. I just had it up, but I can't find the chart in front of me.
Yeah.
They're in 4th place. What's really interesting, though, there's a couple things that are fascinating with this. One, they picked up a lot of eye level. Like I think going into Mythic, a lot of them were 5 or 621, I believe.
Ooh.
And I don't know how that's possible.
Dude, that's high. Holy cow.
And I could be wrong in those numbers, but I saw some posts about it today, and it seems like a lot of people are confused how that's even possible, how they even have that eye level, right? So that's a little concerning, right? Are there shenanigans going on that maybe they're able to abuse a system for renown experience that we're not allowed to abuse? Because you have to remember, in China, they operate WoW through a third-party company called NetEase. So NetEase is a Chinese company, and so they have to operate through NetEase in order to be able to operate at all in China. And so does makes me ask the question of like, okay, well, who's in charge of like their banning systems and stuff like that? Is it Blizzard? If Blizzard wants to ban a bunch of pro players, do they have to go get permission from NetEase to do so? If I'm being completely honest and transparent, that question, when I see that they're starting at like a higher eye level than our like best players, that does raise a couple flags for me where I'm like, I don't know. Now, it could be totally fine. They could have figured out a strat that we never thought of. Whatever. What is, though, super cool in a fun way, not like a bad way, in a fun way, super cool, is that because NetEase struck that a new deal with Blizzard, there's some tension. I think for the last couple of years, you actually could not even play World of Warcraft in China. So right now they just got Wrath Classic, so they're playing through Wrath Classic. And on top of that, I believe the numbers right now for WoW are higher than they've ever been before in history because of Wrath Classic in China being so popular. Yeah. So I think right now WoW's at its highest player numbers of all time.
Wow.
Yes.
That is pretty crazy.
With
no pun intended. Wow.
with China being involved. So now it's not quite the same as like back in the day when Wrath was actually live and we were at our peak numbers wise. and it was all everybody playing the same expansion at the same time. That's a little different. But I believe most of China missed out on like all of Dragonflight, basically all of Dragonflight. So it's exciting to see them back. But there is a 1 million yuan, or about like $137,000 prize pool for if a Chinese group wins Race to World First. And so
that's nuts.
And
dude.
that's not the first Chinese guild to get to get the boss down. But if a Chinese guild wins Race to World First, that's the specific. If a Chinese guild wins Race to World First, they get that prize. Yeah, they have to win. Now, if they don't win, they'll add about another $27,000 to that prize pool for every raid tier that they do not win.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts.
Right? So like,
what? Just forever?
I don't know. I don't know what the limit is. I don't know what the limit is.
Until they get it, I guess.
Yeah, basically until they get it, or maybe there's like a cash limit of like, oh well, once it hits, I don't know, $400,000, then they're done. Right?
Yeah, right. We can't give you guys like all the money we own.
Mm-hmm. Now it does make me step back and go like, dang, right? Like I really wish right now that Blizzard would do something like that for us too, right? Like that'd be cool. Yeah. Come on, Blizz, offer something. It makes it more hype, more exciting. Yet at the same time, it does make me step back and go like, okay, there's a bigger incentive right now for like this Chinese guild to like really push hard on Race to World First.
Oh my goodness.
Like a huge incentive. So I just think that's really cool. That's like a cool piece to Race to World First right now going on.
Yeah, I think that is pretty neat. I don't ever think we'll see that in America, just because it's America. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But, and Blizzard traditionally tries to stay away from, I think, acknowledging Race to World First for the most part, even though they definitely tune around it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once what's it called is taken down. The last boss, the final boss, I feel like they nerf it pretty hard.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I'm looking at something fascinating right now, and I'm hoping I'm reading it wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm looking at... I think I'm right on this. I'm looking at Liquid right now on Race to World First, so they're working on Kaiveza, right?
Yep.
You have the list up in front of you, correct, too, of like where everybody's at? See the classes or the specs that everybody's using for each role?
Yeah.
You notice anything unique about Liquid? Now, the people listening obviously can't see it. You're looking at it.
Dude, they only have one tank.
One tank, dude. They're solo tanking Kaiveza. And that's what I love, though. Dude, that's what I love about Race to World First is when guilds are like, dude, is there a creative way we can kind of cheese this a little bit to like get through a mechanic or do something? And if that means, hey, one of our tanks is swapping to DPS in order to like pump a little bit so we can, damage something down, beat a timer, whatever the need is, I kind of vibe that.
Yeah, no, cool. That's pretty nutty. Holy cow.
Just running Guardian. Because right now it seems, and again, I always focus on tanks because tanks were low, but right now it seems like Blood, Brewmaster, and Guardian are kind of like the three tanks people are swapping between for race. At the moment. Yeah. I'm even seeing some groups, right? So like some groups even trying to 3-tank Brood Twister that are stuck on it. Oh gosh, that's gonna be a hard boss when we pick it up next week. Yeah, 3-tank it.
Oh, I do see that. Oh my goodness.
That's gonna be a tough boss, Brood Twister, when we get back to her next week. I'm not necessarily looking forward to that one. It'll be fun, but it's gonna be tough.
Recruit some more DKs.
Yeah. So why don't we move on from raiding? Because even though as much as I love talking about raiding, I'm not always like the absolute raiding expert in top tier stuff.
Yes, you are.
But this week, dude, I've been doing a bunch of Mythic Plus this week, and it's been a blast. I am so happy. So happy to have Mythic Plus back.
Yeah, I enjoy Mythic Plus. I think I like it more than raiding, and I think we talked about that before. Yeah. Mythic Plus, to be honest, it's like a love-hate relationship. I love it when it goes good, but I hate it when it goes bad.
Yep.
Like, I was in a 4 miss today with just like a pug group. And we got to the second boss, and no one decided to try to kill the illusion. They were just focusing the boss.
Oh.
and people are like, "What's going on? Like, why are we dying?" And I'm like, "We gotta kill the illusion." Like, and as a tank, you can't just pull. Like, I'm like, you guys gotta figure out the riddle and like kill the one that needs to die, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they could not get that concept. So
Yeah, dude, there are a few things going
it's
on with
rough.
Mythic Plus right now. And Mythic Plus, I think, is a hot and heated topic for a lot of people.
Oh
Exactly to
yeah,
the point that you just brought up. And so I've been seeing all over Twitter because Twitter is such a great place to. I mean, X. I've been seeing all over X. Just people complaining about different things with Mythic Plus, and I've been seeing all my comments on YouTube as well. I kind of deleted a few because I didn't feel like dealing with it, or in some cases, I've been getting a little spicy with my responses on YouTube this week. One guy in a guide video. Oh, it was a Mythic Plus guide, a video like on how to get into do Mythic Plus, and he commented and he's like, how did I not learn anything at all from this video? I still don't even know how to do a Mythic Plus. And I just commented. I was in like a mood. And I was like, dude, maybe learning just isn't your strength. Because I was like a little annoyed. I was like, what the heck, dude? Like, I just made a whole video for free for you to watch to learn how to do Mythic Plus. Don't comment and be like, I learned nothing from this. But what I will say though about Mythic Plus, what people are kind of overall frustrated about is, again, some of that meta stuff that kind of creeps its way in. Right? It's week 1, and people already want meta comps for like +3s. They're looking for certain rating. People aren't getting invited, and the reality is, and the reality is it stems from the problem that you just talked about, right? When I hop into a dungeon and I go into Mists of Tyrna Scythe, and nobody's doing the mechanics, right? Like I know what you're talking about because I was doing that boss. What's her name? Is it like Mistcaller, right? I'm doing that boss, and every time that the puzzle pops up with the illusions, I, as the tank, and I shouldn't be doing this. This is not really the best way to do it. I, as the tank, have been kiting the boss over to the illusion. That's the correct one. Because if I don't do it, they won't do it. And for a minute, I was pinging. I was like, oh, I'll just ping it. I'll ping it. I'll ping it. And now I'm like, all right, at least you guys can cleave it. At least just cleave it to death, right? Like, let me just move you all over here so it will just happen to die.
You are like straight helping them more than you should have.
Way more than I should have. But that's where the frustration stems from, right? Because you're going into dungeons, and now, yeah, you could argue, well, I need a place to learn, right? But you're going into dungeons, and people are coming to these dungeons not knowing any of the major boss mechanics. Yeah, cool. If you didn't know that you should kick a random little spell that a mob shoots out that does like 30% of somebody's health. Yeah, cool. You'll learn that as things get harder, and that 30% jumps up to 70% or something, right? Like you'll figure that out over time. But if you don't know the major mechanics of a boss fight going into M+, you shouldn't be there. Like, you should not be in that M+, unless you're running with friends and those friends are coaching you through the fights or helping you out. That's different. That's different. But don't be like blindly signing up for other people's keys if you don't know the fights. And the reason why I can say that so strongly and I can say that so confidently is because Mythic Plus is not a place for you to be learning the basic mechanics of a Mythic dungeon. M0s exist, and M0s are freaking awesome. You get to go in there. There's still a challenge. They're still difficult. There's still like punishment if you mess up a mechanic, but there's no timer, right?
Nope.
And so you go into a Mythic Plus, and guess what? Your group wipes on Mistcaller 3 times because they need to learn that mechanic. They need to figure out how to understand and decipher those runes above the head and be like, oh, that's the one that stands out. And guess what? They get to do that, and now they're good. And now they can go step into a +2 Mists of Tyrna Scythe, and they know how to do the mechanic. The problem is when I list my key, I'm like, hey, I have a +2 Mists of Tyrna Scythe, and I go in there, and now +2 is an easy example. Let's say I list a +5, right? A +5 Mists of Tyrna Scythe, and I'm pushing, and I put a group together that I think is pretty good, and we go in there, and they screw up the mechanic because they never wanted to take the time to learn it. They just dishonored my time, right? They disrespected my time, and now I have to go run a lower dungeon because they refuse to learn the basic. I'm not talking about all mechanics. I'm talking about the essential mechanics of a dungeon. That's disrespectful,
It's hard.
Yeah.
And to that point, like, there are some things, like, I mean, as a tank, like, it's not it's not like super well known like what kind of trash you got to pull. And for the most part, as long as you're not pulling like a ton of trash, or you're not pulling like so little of trash that you got to like backtrack like the whole entire dungeon to just to get the meter. But I mean, other than that, like you should have a general idea of what the dungeon is before you go into it.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not asking, hey, like I want you to come in as the expert on every mechanic. That's not what I'm saying, right? All I'm saying is that the basic boss mechanics, you understand how they work. Or if there's maybe a basic mechanic somewhere else in the dungeon that is hypercritical that everybody should know in order to complete that dungeon. Again, right, same thing with like, I don't know, what is it, the second boss on Stone Vault, right? Where they slide the block out, right? And if a player's standing in the middle every single time that happens, it's like, hey man, you want to pop back in M0, learn that fight. And the nice thing too is M0 used to lock you out of loot every week, but now I think it's only a day lockout, right? So every day you can get new loot from M0. I almost think though, like I'm almost at the point where I'm like, hey dude, maybe we shouldn't have M0 lockouts anymore for loot. And just let people queue in like the group finder like they can for any other role, because it's difficult. It's difficult, but it's not timed, so nobody's punished if you fail. You know?
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Actually,
yeah, I don't
not even a little bit.
No, I have no problem with that. Now, I don't know if I'd ever be down for like auto queue, Mythic Plus, because they would have to change the whole key system over. Right, the moment it punishes me for a randomized group, maybe that's where I draw the line. But that is right now, I think, the tension for M+ that a lot of people are feeling. Because on one hand, you have players going like, hey, every group I'm trying to apply to expects a higher eye level than what should be necessary for that run, or they expect rating higher than what should be necessary for the run, right? Like, why is somebody expecting 800 rating in order to run a +2? And it's like, well, because they've been having trouble with players who are walking in, not knowing dungeons. And if I'm being fair to everybody, right, like right now, there's a few things going on. Like, I get the annoyance, right? But there's also a lot of players returning from hiatus who just don't know these mechanics very well, and they're relearning how to play WoW because, again, they've been on break for a while. That's the beginning of expansion always does that. And then the jump from M0 to M2 does feel bigger than it should, right? So theoretically, M0 should feel like what a +10 used to feel like, and I don't know if it's even close to feeling like what a +10 used to feel like. Because without the timer, without the timer, all of that stress is gone. You can pull smaller, you can like focus and retry bosses multiple times. So, you know, it is that jump from M0 to M2 does start to feel a lot bigger. So I get it. I get the tension, but it is also important to remember that like you might be frustrated that like you're not getting invited to groups because your rating's not where everybody's looking for it to be right now. But you also have to remember people are on the other end frustrated because now they can't trust everybody who signs up for dungeons because they've been hurt too many times on their keys, and so they want to make sure that what they do is effective. There's a good middle ground, right? Like you want to focus first and foremost on maybe pushing your own key, spending some time focusing on building up a little bit of that rating, building up some of that rapport before you start to expect people to invite you to groups. I would also say, and this is an important thing. This is important. You can play any spec, any class you want. And honestly, they're all specs and classes for reasonable level dungeons, I think, are fair, right? Like, unless you're pushing like title or like the top best of the best of the best of the best
like
in keys.
0.1%.
Yeah, right. Like, the title pushing. Unless you're doing that, like the meta really doesn't matter that much. And even this season, I don't know if there's going to be a crazy meta this season. I think it's going to be a lot more spread out. I think it's going to be a lot more spread out. But with that said, nonetheless, there's still, even in low +2 keys, people are going to want to invite the classes or the specs that feel like they're the most beneficial, feel like they offer the most resources or whatever. And so if your primary focus is to just spam dungeons all day long and get them fast, maybe you want to switch up your class and spec to play something that people really want to invite.
You should.
If you're saying, nope, that's not really my goal. My goal is to play a spec in a class that I really enjoy and have fun playing, which that's me, by the way. That's the boat I am. And then, yeah, you know what? Sometimes that means you got to, not always
Run
have
your own
everything
key.
you want, right? Yeah, you can't always have your cake and eat it too. Run your own key.
Yeah, you gotta
Group up
run
with
your own
friends.
key. You can't grind the dungeon that you might need to grind to get that trinket. Like, yeah, you just kind of gotta.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just ranted hard for a minute. Like I do apologize. That was a rant.
Oh, you're good. It's okay.
I'll get on certain topics though, dude. I'll just go off. Oh, also the last thing is find a guild. Find a guild that's doing the type of content you desire to do and has the community you desire to be in. And it might take you a few tries. Don't be afraid to join a guild and then leave it and then join another and then leave it until you find the one that is the right fit.
The one. It's like marriage, You divorce your wife until you find the right wife.
Well, I don't know if I don't think it's supposed to work that way.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think it's supposed to work that way.
Oh.
Yeah, we can, yeah. We'll have that on our marriage counseling podcast for next week. We can talk about that more. We can talk about that more.
Sounds good.
Yeah. What I will say though too, right? Like our guild, right, Astra that we're in on Storm Rage. What I love with our guild, dude, is if I want to run dungeons, you know how freaking easy it is for me to find some people to run dungeons with?
Oh, it's pretty easy.
Like, oh my gosh. Getting into dungeons, doing the content I want is never a problem. I have so many people that want to do content, and guess what? They would so much rather do content with me, a friend of theirs and fellow guildie, than they would just like queuing up with randos. It's just more fun. Even if we don't succeed, it's just more fun.
Granted, you are pretty lovable, so
I try, man. I try.
I think people just like you.
Yeah, but I also hold the record for most people quitting the guild. So we'll see.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. More people have quit because of me than anything else. I actually don't know if that's true. I just joke about it. I like to meme a lot.
Would think that it's pretty true.
Rip. Sometimes, listen. If you're listening in on the podcast right now, my sarcasm, my comedy, I have perfect comedic timing. It's beautiful. I'm a comedy genius, but it doesn't always come out the best in text if you don't know like intent and heart behind it.
You have perfect vision, but for comedy.
Perfect. Yeah, dude, definitely not perfect vision for actual vision. I need to get new glasses.
Oh, no, dude, you're blind.
Yeah, dude, I'm so blind. But yeah,
that's okay.
Mythic Plus been fun. Also, note from Blizzard coming out. Sorry, this is a hard topic shift, but note from Blizzard coming out, really fascinating. I don't know if you heard about it, but did you hear that like a little while back when some stuff was going on with the guild bank, a bunch of items started missing?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so a bunch of players started reporting that items were missing from the guild bank. Initially, Blizzard thought it was just items related to old professions, like old gathering profession items were going missing. But then people started reporting significantly more important things were going missing. I heard maybe even some people say gold might have been going missing.
Oh, wow.
Although that might have just been opportunistic players just, skimming some off the top. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But Blizzard just put out a note. Let me see if I can find their note on this real quick. Blizzard just put out a note saying that... I can't find the note. But they were saying that basically they are aware of it, they're sorting through it, and they are tracking the items that have gone missing. They do have the logs to track those items. They're working on recovering those items. They're packaging them up, I guess. I mean, they use role play terms. So they're packaging them up at the moment. And sometime in the near future, if you're a guild master and items have gone missing in your guild bank, the guild master will receive a package in-game mail with those items for them to put back into the guild bank.
Yeah, no, dude, that's pretty lit. No, that's good.
Yeah, it helps a lot. I know a lot of people worry about that. It was one of those things too, where it was up in the air of like, okay, we know this has gone missing. Can Blizzard actually correct it though? Like, is it something that we just have to be like, oh, that sucks, but we got to live with it? Because that's a lot to track. To say, yeah, go find all the items that just disappeared from our guild bank.
Yeah, really. Mm-hmm. Hey, we just had a bunch of stuff go missing, and we're not really sure where it went. So, yeah, good luck.
Rip
yeah, that's kind of rough. So, hopefully they get that fixed out. I don't really use the guild bank, to be honest.
That's fair.
I'm kind of I don't like to take stuff out of it. I don't know. I'm just weird like that,
Totally makes sense.
I like to get my own stuff.
All right, Chicken, it's time for us to talk about our tips of the week, bro. Every week, I want to have some advice that you and I can personally bring, whether serious, more comedic, whatever it is to kind of help players continue to improve in World of Warcraft. Maybe take something with them that gives them a little advantage or whatever. So, what would your tip this week be for players listening in?
So, my tip for this week, and I've thought about it all for the last 30 seconds.
Oh, that's a good sign.
It would be, well, see, I should have done this tip last week because it's too late for me now. It's, hey, pay attention on what the weekly rotation is, because I'm telling you, a lot of people probably didn't know that this was time walking week, and I didn't realize that until this weekend, and I could have been leveling my alts. So my tip is that little calendar-y thing in the top right hand corner of your screen.
Oh, dude, I love that calendar. Yeah.
Pull it down, see what we got. So yeah, we got some good stuff here. Like we got some what is this? Wait, that's weird.
Brewfest is going on right now, which I believe offers a 10% XP buff. So
yeah,
if you pop over the Brewfest, I know it's outside Ironforge for Alliance. For Horde, I can't remember if it's outside Stormwind or it might be outside Thunderbluff.
Yeah,
I think it's Stormwind. I think it's
Orgrimmar.
I think it's outside Orgrimmar. But I'd have to double check that.
Yeah, so that's my tip.
Makes sense.
Get looking at that calendar, see what we got going on in the game of World of Warcraft. Dude, I didn't know that calendar existed until maybe like a couple months ago. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, my tip of the week. I'm gonna talk about delves, which is fascinating because I don't actually find delves that interesting personally. However, we have Mythic plus Dungeons open, but I know a lot of our listeners probably aren't pushing like top tier M plus right now, right? They're not like grabbing all plus 10s for their vaults this week. So assuming that's you, if that's you right now, delves are still going to be your best way to get some solid vault slots. I think the episode should be dropping on Monday, but even if you're watching after server reset and you're trying to plan, even still, getting into delves and doing some 8s and delves will give you some fantastic 616 vault slots that will help you start gearing up and pushing towards some better content. My advice is this: go find a tank, make friends with tanks. Just ask a tank to go do a delve with you. It makes it like 8,000 times easier. I was talking to a great friend of mine who is often my healer for M plus Dungeons. If they're listening, they know who they are. And I was talking to them about it, and they're like, oh, I can't do delves. Like, every time I do a delve, I just die. Like, it's just not worth it as a healer. I'm just spamming heals on myself the whole time, and it's a miserable experience. And then Bran attacks him half the time and kills him, so it doesn't even... What? It doesn't... Yeah, dude, Bran is... I don't know what's wrong with Bran. He's got a bug right now where, like, he'll randomly just start attacking you. Yeah. Also, I just want to point out this week, because I'm a Blood DK. Blood DKs own in delves. Blood DKs are beautiful in delves. Like, just run delves with me. Like, dude. It's amazing.
Oh my goodness, dude.
The first time I ever died in a delve, Bran this week used some ability. I gave him an item. I gave him like a curio item or something that like when you like die, it like refills your health, but then you can't be healed and you like lose 5% health or something every second. And it doesn't seem like it ends. It doesn't seem like it has an end to it. It's almost like, hey, you're guaranteed to die, but maybe you'll at least beat the thing that you were trying to kill, right? Like that was basically what it was. Like you're guaranteed to die, but maybe you'll at least win this fight. So when you respawn, you don't have to start from the beginning again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I of course, right, I triggered the item, but the problem is I'm a Blood DK. I knew I was going to trigger my Purgatory, right? My Purgatory lets me then heal myself back up and keep going. And in this case, because it triggered my Purgatory, it also triggered that item from Bran. And so the first time I ever died in M+ was because Bran killed me, and I was so upset about that.
Yeah, I could see that.
But to what I was saying, though, I went into a delve with my healer friend, and just instantly, like, we cleared it. And it was nice for me because, again, as a tank going through, my damage isn't really the best. And so I just kind of slowly progressed through. And I could put Bran on damage mode, but just to be safe, I normally keep him on healer. Just so I have, like, extra backup of, like, oh, no, my Death Strikes aren't quite doing what they used to do. I can grab a couple potions off Bran and keep going just fine. So it was nice to be able to swap Bran to DPS and me tank, have a healer. It went fast. It was nice. And so definitely I encourage you, make some friends with tanks. And all of a sudden you're getting some like easy 616 gear in your vault.
Oh yeah, they're like, the thing with that is, dude, you can crank like easily 4 of them out in an hour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Easily.
For sure. Some of them take a little bit longer depending on how you're doing them. But yeah, like maybe 3 an hour. If I think
yeah,
about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say 3 an hour. Sounds about good.
You want to be conservative.
Yeah. Dude, did you see I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about like random stuff right now, but did you see the Overwatch skins coming out? I don't know if you like play much Overwatch. Not a huge deal, but worth mentioning on the pod. And it's actually making me want to go back and play Overwatch again. I haven't played Overwatch probably like over a year. It just hasn't been great since Overwatch 2 came out. But they're adding in some World of Warcraft skins, and I'm kind of tempted. There's like Sylvanas, there's Arthas. We even got Magni Bronzebeard. I wonder if he's going to be going, the wounds! But
oh my goodness.
I don't know. But it is cool to kind of see all those coming out. You know, maybe they can have some WoW skins to Fortnite, because I do play that. Right?
Dude, they already have WoW skins in Fortnite.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so for those who don't know what we're referencing, what was it? Was it Chapter 8? Chapter 8 in Fortnite, I think it was?
I think so, yeah.
I could be wrong. Or Chapter 1, Season 8, I think it was. Chapter 1, Season 8. This was
yes.
years ago. Years ago in Fortnite, they had a season come out, right? And every season Fortnite, for those listening, I don't know why we're talking about Fortnite on the pod, but every season Fortnite, they have a battle pass with skins. And there's usually a theme around that season. So this season comes out, and the tier 100 skin in the battle pass, so the top level skin that you could unlock if you complete your battle pass, was called the Ice King. And he looked suspiciously like the Lich King, but definitely different enough that it wasn't gonna be like copyright stuff, right? But then on top of that, they added like this new like ice castle location, and it was definitely like a reference to Ice Crown Citadel for sure. And if that was all it 100%. was, I would probably be like, oh, you know, my WoW brain is making me see something that doesn't exist. That's okay.
Nerd. Except
2 more things happened during that season. It was the first time they ever added a legendary weapon, I believe, right? First time they ever added mythic weapon, which was...
No, because they had the Thanos glove before that. Or the Infinity Gauntlet.
Maybe you're right. I thought that was after that.
I think this was more like an every game though, because I think
this wasn't every game. This wasn't Thanos mode was like a special game mode, I think. But they added the sword. And I don't remember what the sword was called, but they added this like sword that you had to get from like the Ice Castle location. Yeah. Right, where the Ice King is. And it definitely has some vague similarities to Frostmourne, but just the idea that, right, you have this Ice King in this like ice castle with like a special ultra powerful sword.
With the special
and now
sword.
you're going like, okay, Swag, that is pretty close, but again, maybe coincidental, but close. Until you realize that there is a secret unlockable skin of a guy chained up in the castle, right? Chained up in the castle with locks on him, and his skin burned, like still on fire. And you're like, wait a second, that's Bolvar 4 Dragon. That's straight up Bolvar 4 Dragon. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is literally just Wrath of the Lich King in Fortnite. So that's the reference that we're talking about there.
It's all coming back to me.
I've played this game before. But so dude, all that to say, you know, I'm not gonna lie, dude. WoW skins in Overwatch, man, that tempts me. That tempts me to go back and maybe give it a try again. Even though like they're the skins for the classes I don't even play, so who knows.
Yeah, the problem is I don't have enough time to play games like that, dude.
I don't either anymore. Man, WoW takes up all my time.
Dedicated to WoW. Way too much time dedicated to WoW.
Dude, do you ever have people, and we'll kind of slowly wrap up here, but do you ever have people like ask you to get into like other MMOs? They're like, oh, dude, you love playing WoW. You should try this other MMO.
I've never, ever had that happen. Not even once.
Okay, dude, I get it all the time. And it's either like other MMOs or like other games that like are still like considerable time sinks. And I'm just like, dude, like, listen, man, I play WoW and like I'm content. I'm content playing WoW. I don't really need anything else. Maybe during like a down season of WoW, I might try something out. But like,
oh yeah.
like bro, I ain't got time for 2 of these. I barely have time for 1, man.
Dude, exactly.
Dude, and it's starting like, you know, at times like I'm trying to like justify to like my girlfriend and be like, yeah, I'm helping the guild out 4 nights a week with stuff, and then I realize like, crap, this comes across insane. I come across absolutely crazy.
It does like a little bit, but yeah, dude, it's a lot. I mean,
It's a lot.
It's kind of crazy to think that how much time you put into this game. Not like in like a weird way, but like,
No.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. It really is definitely a time sink of a game. But man, so enjoyable. And I think too, right, the community that we have helps a ton. There was a season when I actually like almost quit WoW. Recently-ish, right? I want to say it was like 3 years ago. I just had some like major stuff happen in life that was kind of just like emotionally just like drained me completely. Like I just didn't really care about much of anything at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I was pretty beat up. And I remember I was raiding with another guild at the time, and they were great. They were phenomenal people. Enjoyed being with them. I was raiding with them, but like, dude, I was like struggling. I know a couple times I just like left, like I just logged out in the middle of raid because I just like emotionally was just like distraught. And for whatever reason, like and then at the time I was just like, you know, maybe I'm just not gonna be playing much more WoW. I'm just not interested in the game right now. I wasn't interested in anything. So I was like, maybe I'm just gonna stop playing WoW. And one night I was like playing up my paladin. At the time I was healing mostly, so I was playing a resto shaman. And I was playing around, and I was goofing with Holy Paladin because I like the idea of Holy Paladin. I was goofing around with it, and I was like, let me go raid. Let me go raid with like a guild or something. And so I'm like searching in to see if anybody's like running normal. I'm definitely undergeared. I'm like, this character's undergeared. I don't know how to play it super well. And I'm searching, and whenever I search for like raid runs, I primarily try to find guild runs first. Guild runs are going to be interesting because depending on the guild, you might not get as much loot because they often will prioritize their players over, you know, like the pugs that come into the group. But I find the experience and organization overall is so much better.
Oh yeah.
And I wasn't in there for loot. I was in there because I just wanted to try it out.
Yeah, dude, so you're just trying to have a good time.
I was looking for a guild, and that's where I ended up finding my current guild, Astra. And I joined them for a night, and I remember just being like, this was fun. Like, this was a good time. And, like, afterwards, like, it turns out it was, like, their first raid night together total, and the raid leaders are going through all the mechanics on every fight, and they were talking, and they were happy, and they were joyful. And I just remember, like, messaging back on their Discord that they're like, hey, guys, I had a great time. If you need another healer next week, I'd love to come back and do it again. And they offered me a seat to come back and raid with them the next week. And eventually, I think I just ended up server transferring all my characters over and putting them in the guild. And but what it was for me was a community, right? WoW offers something with community that I just don't know if any other game does. Did you see that that documentary coming out on Netflix?
What?
Yeah, dude. So there's a documentary on Netflix about this guy who's like disabled. I think he was disabled like his whole life or something, so he couldn't really go spend time with people or get out of the house if at all, right, or much. And so I don't really know all the stories. I just saw the promo for it, but it's on Netflix, and it's this guy who basically like built his social life around himself through WoW.
Interesting.
Yeah, dude.
What's it called?
I don't know what it's called, but I definitely want to like check it out, right?
And it's on Netflix, you said?
It's on Netflix. I'm looking up. I'm Googling it right now. Netflix World of Warcraft documentary. All right, it's called "The Remarkable Life of Ibelin."
Okay.
Or Ibelin, Ibelin. The Remarkable Life of Ibelin explores the profound impact of digital connection. So I'm gonna read like a little bit, right? For Matt Steen, a Norwegian gamer who suffered from a degenerative disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that horribly. His time spent playing online multiplayer game World of Warcraft gave him a powerful way to connect with a community of like-minded people. During his relatively brief time on Earth, he spent tens of thousands of hours immersing himself in a world where his physical limitations had no effect on his gameplay. When Steen died in 2014 at the age of 25, his family assumed that his disease had kept him from increasingly isolated, or they assumed that his disease had kept him increasingly isolated. But in reality, he had been an integral and beloved part of a digital community who reached out to his family to share in their morning. And why am I tearing up as I'm reading this? I know why I'm tearing up, because it's deeply emotional. I'll post the promo for it, Netflix promo for it.
Yeah, dude, that's
in
kind of
Discord.
sad.
In Discord for anybody to check out. With that said, actually, if you're listening right now, I think Chick and I both want to invite you over to the Discord that we primarily use right now for the podcast, which is my personal content on Swaglock's Warband.
Wow.
Chicken hangs out in there too. Chicken, when you start making content again, dude, we'll get your. Yeah, I changed it. Yeah,
this
what do you
is
think?
content, right?
This is content, dude. I want you to make Twitch again, dude. Chicken used to be such a good Twitch streamer. See, this is my time to publicly blast.
Stuff happens, you know.
But anyways, I'm gonna post it on Discord. If anybody wants to hang out on Discord with us, there'll be a link in the description wherever you are watching or listening to this podcast. However, for now, I think that is everything we wanted to talk about today. Of course, rate us 5 out of 5 stars, or however the rating system works on the podcast platform you're watching on. That helps us out tremendously. And we didn't do any listener questions today, but we also, it's a new podcast, and so we didn't quite have any questions today. And if you want to ask those, we have a place on our Discord called Questions for the Pod. Toss them in there. We would love to talk about that. We want to talk about things that you guys are interested, things that you guys are encountering. And if you have a question, probably means that somebody else does too. But
that's true.
Chicken, do you want to do our close today?
Yeah, so we're gonna close out like this. Hot take: Echo's gonna win. We're gonna touch on that next week.
No, dude, Liquid's gonna win for sure.
Nope.
/exit.